Today on Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery, we'll look back to Hawks' loss last night to the Miami Heat, now down 0-2 in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. And guess what? The Braves and Truists, they are back at it again. More tax breaks, more tax breaks, more tax breaks. We'll explain all of that. It is Hitting Hard with you here on this Wednesday morning on Locked On Sports Atlanta.
This is Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
Great to be with you on this Wednesday morning. It is Jon Chuckery. This is Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery. And I want to thank you so much for listening into the show. I want you to go to our YouTube page. You can go to YouTube, put in the little browser bar there, Locked On Sports Atlanta. Hit the subscribe button. Give us a review. Tell us what you think about the show. And, of course, you can always follow me on my Twitter page. It is at JMCH316. Well, unfortunately, it was rough going for the Atlanta Hawks last night. Certainly played much better. And I thought somebody that I had on my radio show said it best, that it was a scheduled loss on Sunday, because certainly all of the factors going into the Hawks playing multiple games Wednesday, Friday, then having to travel late and get down to Miami, and you're playing early on Sunday. It just was a bad situation. But last night, of course, the Hawks lose 115-105 to the Miami Heat, now down 0-2. Now, several things about this matchup from last night. The Hawks did play much better, but they still got some performances that just left you kind of scratching your head. I thought the two biggest storylines of the game last night were, number one, the amount of turnovers that the Atlanta Hawks had, and that was led by Trae Young. I mean, unfortunately, if you look at Trae Young's line in the game, just take the surface numbers: 25 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, 10 of 20 from the floor. You say, well, that's pretty good. That's a good night at the office. But Trae had 10 turnovers in the game and was 2 for 10 from three-point range and only got to the free throw line 4 times. So I thought that his play last night hurt the Hawks at times, especially in that third quarter when the Hawks came out of the halftime and into the third, and they had this thing close. They were only down a couple at the half. It was a turnover by Trae. It leads to a dunk, then another errant turnover. That leads to a three, and they just could never get a rhythm in that third quarter, and they lost that quarter by 9 points and actually won the fourth quarter by 29-28. But it was a much better start for the Atlanta Hawks. We talked about that on the show. Just they needed to get off to a better start. It was only 17 points the other day in the loss to Miami. It was 25 yesterday in that. They were within 1 at the start of that game. But I thought Trae's turnovers and the turnovers in general really hurt this team. And the second part that I thought really hurt this team was Trae Young's shot selection. Perfect example of that was when the score was 104-101 and the Hawks had an inbound. They had taken up a shot or something, knocked out of bounds, and they had the ball back. And they inbound it, and Trae kind of comes behind. I can't remember if it was Bogey or John Collins, but he comes behind, and he takes an errant sort of three, misses it, and they just never kind of got that close again. And then Trae had another stretch where he comes down the court, not really set on offense, pulls up from about 5 feet from above the three-point line, and shoots an errant three. I thought his shot selection just was not that good. I thought it hurt the team. Now, it also didn't help that Gallinari, excuse me, was 0 for 6 from the floor. He was 0 for 4 from three-point land. The Hawks can't afford to have one of their regular guys that end up 0 for on the floor. I don't care what guy it is, Herter, Gallinari, what have you. Herter didn't shoot all that well, but at least he was 3 for 7 from three-point land, and he did contribute 9 points and 6 assists in the game, so he was in the flow of the offense. Gallinari had 2 points, 6 boards, and an assist last night in an over from the field, and after he's been playing so well for the Hawks and been one of their better scorers. But I thought the turnovers and Trae's shot selection did them in last night. And even with Jimmy Butler going off, Jimmy Butler went for 45, 15 of 25 from the field, 4 for 7 from three. Even with all of that, the Hawks were in that game. That was a very winnable game for the Atlanta Hawks. But every time it felt like they were about to get going and they were about to get close, they had a turnover. It leads to another basket. And it just was frustrating because you could just feel like, okay, we were this close to getting something going, and it's a turnover. And now they come down and hit a three. And give Miami credit. They took advantage of those turnovers. Somebody had texted me last night about if there was a stat about points off of turnovers, Trae Young may lead the league in that. I don't know if that's true, but it is interesting. When we talk about football in the NFL, we look at points off of turnovers, right? How many points did you give up off of turnovers? Last night, it felt like the Hawks gave up, I don't know, a crap ton of points in that game. And they ended up in that game with 19 total turnovers in the game. Felt like that they gave up about 50 points off those turnovers. I don't know what the actual stat is, but you understand what I'm saying with all of this. So, look, Hawks have to regroup. Now we're in must-win mode for the Atlanta Hawks. You don't have a choice now. You have to win both games at home. I said I did not think that last night was a must-win game, but what's frustrating is that was a game that you felt like last night you had a chance to win. You came out and played well in the first quarter. You were only down 2 at the half. You actually won the fourth quarter. It's just that third quarter where the turnovers started to mount up and some of the bad shot selection really kind of hurt this club. You felt like you had a chance to win it. Well, you didn't. Now you got to come home on Friday. I expect a raucous crowd. I think it's going to be a big environment. I'm going to be down there. I'm actually broadcasting from there before the game, and I plan on staying for the game. So it should be a lot of a fun environment down there for it. But now it's must win. Now there is no, to quote Apollo Creed, there is no tomorrow. Now you can't afford to lose either of these two games at home. You have to go 2-0 in this set. Can the Hawks do that? Of course that they can. They can absolutely find their way into 2 wins over these next few days. They'll play Friday night, then they'll play Sunday, and then they'll be back in Miami on Tuesday. But there's no reason why the Hawks can't find a way to win 2 games. They're still one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference at home, and I know Miami was pretty good on the road, but last night should have given you a little bit of hope. It's just more frustrating that this team was not able to find a way to pull out a victory last night in a game that was very much winnable. And the guy last night who really just kind of took control of the offense, and it's a shame because he ended up only playing 28 minutes because of foul trouble, was Bogdanović. And Bogey was 12 of 18 from the floor, 5 of 10 from 3, ended up with 29 points, 4 boards, and 3 assists, but only 28 minutes, and that's because he got in foul trouble early. And that was another thing about the game last night, and Trae Young even commented about this after the game. The officiating was horrendous. Now, you can call me a homer, you can call me rose-colored glasses and all that kind of stuff. But the officiating, I thought last night was dreadful. You had Kyle Lowry, who's just running into people, flopping all around. I don't know if he's trying for an Emmy. I don't know what he's trying for, some kind of SAG award. But he's just fumbling and bumbling and running into people. And then he got a couple of calls on some of his drives that just left you scratching your head. Trae Young had a call where he got called on an offensive foul, and then he picked up a technical because he told the ref his calls were effing garbage or effing trash. Well, you know what? I'm with Trae. They were effing trash. So tough night for the Hawks. They got to regroup quickly here. We get ready for Friday night. When we come back, we'll talk some more about this game because we did get some news yesterday from the general manager about a guy who is on the shelf these first couple of games. And we'll talk a little bit about John Collins and what his return has meant as well. It is Jon Chuckery. It's hitting hard on Locked On Sports Atlanta.